Ready?
Yes. You know, I was imagining Diamond Dave doing the midair splits and stuff on stage, you know, back in the day, back in the 80s.
You know, that was their first, the highest chart-topping song.
Really?
Yeah. Eruption never made the charts, just freaked out and bewildered and bedazzled millions of guitar players around the world. And then they come up with Dance the Night Away, and it hit number 2. If I'm not
Sometimes you get surprised by what you know, is that kind of like when you kill yourself writing the ultimate clever blog post somewhere, and you're like, this is the most important thing I've ever written, and like 5 people like it. But then you do like one sentence of some silly, stupid stuff, and like, you know, 400 people are like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You have to give the people what they are asking for.
Yes.
Yeah, which are TikTok videos.
Turns out they want stupid shit, you know.
Yeah, they
funny
do.
Things.
They want entertainment.
They do.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're right.
Rob, you know that lemming post that I put out? That is the most viral thing that I've been able to post lately under the new LinkedIn algorithm.
Well done, you.
It's just pathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, people, you do it to yourselves. You want crap, you will get crap.
Yeah. The problem is when it's on social media, and I dare to call LinkedIn social media as well now. It's you know, it's one thing, but when it's engaging with a customer and they're asking for crap, and you're just like, no, this is not what you need. What you need is that other thing. I know, because I've been in the industry, or I'm an advisor in that domain, and the customer's like, no, this is not what I want. This is what I want. It's like, well, goodbye. I will be the one saying, well, I'm not working with you then, because this is not the right thing to do. But how many would actually just go with it? And isn't that why so many IT projects are tanking? Because people are trying to do what customers want versus what is right for them.
Because as Steve Jobs always told us, the customer doesn't know what they want until I show it to them.
Well, we'll definitely have to talk about that MIT report, because that's like the biggest thing that came out. And
it had a big impact on the stock market and all the tech companies this last week.
Well, you know, I think it's just indicative of a broader reality that's been picked up by stats. And what I've observed in my own research, I mean, you know, I've been warning about this stuff forever, you know, from the very beginning. So it's not like a surprise. There's one of these AI influencers or whatever, thought leaders, who was presenting the news like it was a revelation. I told him, this isn't a revelation, it's an inevitability. And if you knew, and I basically said, if you knew AI, you've been tracking the technology, you knew that this is where it's going to land. It's only surprising to you if you don't know what you're talking about and you don't know the technology, despite all of the AI book. See, I have Jimi Hendrix up there.
Yeah.
Some of these guys have like the latest and greatest AI textbooks behind them. But hey, you know,
you got Jimi Hendrix.
If you think it's a see, you got to take.
Yeah, it's called New to You.
That's right. It's new to you. That's right.
Yeah.
That used car you just bought is new to you.
That's right.
But hey, everybody, welcome to IoT Coffee Talk. And that was Dance the Night Away by Van Halen. If you don't know that tune, it will become your favorite because it's a beautiful, beautiful tune by Van Halen. And if you listen to the guitar playing, it is incredible rhythm playing. It's just magical stuff, even though it's kind of a campy song. You know, it has like a Latin feel to it, which is really cool because David Lee Roth grew up in a Latin community, so he was all into cha-cha and, you know.
That's what I think about Diamond Dave. Cha-cha Diamond Dave.
You know, he did it on stage. You know, in addition to his kung fu and his booty shaking, you know. So
I heard that you were the one who noticed the booty shaking more than anyone.
Yeah,
Leonard.
This is not new to us.
Yeah, going back to my previous reference about these influencers who find that this, you know, the 95% failure rate is a revelation. Okay, this shouldn't be a revelation to you.
Right.
This is an inevitability. It's just a fact. I mean, you know, half the
like
time you watch a Van Halen or David Lee Roth video, half of the time he's sticking his butt in your face.
I'm now we're all wondering how Leonard makes so much money as an analyst. You know,
because I tell it like it is.
he goes to meet with a customer and they want to talk about AI, and he talks about David Lee Roth putting his butt in your face, and they're like, "Here, take my money, please."
This is reassuring. That tells me that there are some companies out there that are willing to hear the truth versus just what they want to hear, right? Like some people firing their chief of statistics for employment, and they're firing them because they don't like the numbers they bring up. You know?
Yeah.
It's good. It's
like,
good.
La 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 la. I don't want to hear that. That's bad news. You're out of here. Get out of here. Bye.
I'm positioning it now as de-risking. And I think, you know, well, I'll share that really quickly, but we have to do our disclaimer. Hey, everyone, take us seriously at your own peril. We're doing this for fun. We're just having fun. Those of you who've been following us and watching the show, you guys know that that's true. Don't buy any stocks that Rob talks about because you'll just make a ton of money. Okay? Or not. But anyways, you know, de-risking, especially right now with papers like that coming out that are just highlighting what has been a trend from the beginning. I don't think we've seen any reports where claim that enterprise AI or industrial. Let me qualify that better. Industrial and enterprise Gen AI has taken off like a rocket. The other thing is, you know, we haven't seen that. And the other thing is the technical reality is that things like agentic AI, which is probably the next shoe to drop, is super nascent. It's still experimental, and the frameworks are really not there. So a lot of these companies that are claiming they've solved the issues with agentic AI. I will have to quote the CISO of the Ford Motor Company, who will tell you anyone who says that is lying. Not, might not have done their homework. They're just not telling the truth because there's no evidence that agentic frameworks are at a level where they're enterprise or industrial grade. That's why we're not seeing them deployed, right?
Yeah.
So
we hear a lot of talk.
A lot of talk.
Yeah, I think we're playing around with I mean, to me, it's like, you know, it's interesting. It could be helpful, but, you know, in a situation where you need something to be accurate and the same every time, it's not going to do that. So you definitely can't build stuff. I mean, that's why it kind of cracked me up when OpenAI had recently upgraded to their 5 model and people went bonkers because they had built all this, you know, stuff on those other models and stuff like that. I'm like, why are you doing that? Right? So it can have a use, but the way that people are trying to use it is just not proper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't build your house on sand.
What does everybody think about
I think a book.
GPT?
There's a popular book I think that says that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And what the problem is everyone has built their homes on sand. That is the problem, the fundamental problem, Debbie. And that is, that
Is this like Sam Kinison talking about people shouldn't live in the desert because it's sand?
Yeah.
And 1,000 years from now, it's still going to be sand.
Be sand.
Yeah. Do you remember that from 1,000 years ago? The best way to help people in Ethiopia is to stop bringing them food and helping them. You need to leave here. You live in a desert. Desert! We've got deserts in the United States, and we don't live there. You need to leave.
That's not
Go
true.
to where the food is. Right?
But Sam Kinison.
I love that guy. It's almost like the little tiny book, Who Moved My Cheese, right? That when it's like sometimes you just need to pick up and go and move, So I hear Olivier is going to pick up and move and go to Amsterdam shortly.
Yeah.
For the big
not
show.
to leave there. Not to leave there. But
okay.
Yeah, there's the Things conference coming up.
Things conference.
It's going to be a great conference. It's always been a great conference. It's growing, and what I like about it is the fact that it's true talk. I don't know if it's because it's based in Europe where people just don't bullshit too much, and so we have true talk. And what's super interesting, and Vinke called me and say, hey, Olivier, do you want to come and host the event this year? We have something special you like, which is it's not going to be just about LoRaWAN and LP1 this year. It's going to be about IoT. And so they are getting up with Bluetooth, with 5G guys and a bunch of others. And so the event is really becoming an IoT event rather than just LP1 event. And that's super interesting. So I'm eager to be there. I think they're expecting 2,500 people in person.
Wow.
So that's like more than ever for that conference.
More than ever. Yeah.
And you look at the list of sponsors, it's great. Qualcomm's going to be there. And we have all the big names that are going to be there. So that's going to be pretty cool.
Wow.
I'm eager to do that.
I think
that's huge, dude.
And a few other big.
That's so exciting. That's going to be great fun.
Yeah, and it's great people. It's great people. It's going to be a little bit of beer drinking.
A little bit of beer.
A lot.
I'm going to have the IoT show there live from there.
Of course you will. Yeah.
So, I might not have Leonard to bomb the show from
a video bomb
there,
you
like you did in Austin.
Audio bomb you guys. That's too
my God. No, that's exciting. I'm glad that it's doing so well. That's just awesome. I always loved the big wall with all the devices.
The wall of fame, they call that. It's funny. Okay. It's funny.
Yeah.
And it's 10 years ago when they started the thing, it was like, wow, these are all the LoRaWAN devices out there, which was pretty much it, right? And now it's, when you imagine, it's just like a tiny, tiny, tiny portion of everything that's out there. It's actually even more impressive, I think, because it's like, hey, here's some of the many, many devices that are out there, and they're connected, and that will connect your freaking GenAI to the physical world. That's the way I like to present IoT to people now. It's like, hey, this is your interface with the real world, because people don't understand IoT. They don't understand AI. So
yes.
Actually, yeah.
I was just talking the other day. I think I was just on talking with my boss, Dave, and I was like, because both of us had that IoT background, and I go, that whole IoT and actuators and stuff, I think all those companies are going to pivot and rebrand themselves as physical AI companies.
They are already doing it, dude.
Totally.
We're into physical AI. That's what we were always doing. I don't know what you're talking about with IoT. It's always been physical AI.
Yeah, right. Well, I always tell people, it's like they're trying to pour AI goo on everything.
Yes.
So everything has AI now. Yep.
Yeah. I agree.
Slap it on everything. It's like capers. Just throw it on everything.
Put it on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So back to the initial conversation about people building houses on sand and so on. There's an interesting trend I'm seeing happening. Well, generally the trend of MCP servers is not new, right? But I'm starting to see people in the IoT world thinking, especially in the edge AI world, thinking about MCP servers down there at the edge for exposing this edge entity to AI bots and others. I think it's a really interesting idea because GenAI on its own will just not make any good. But having an actual, insight extracted from local AI available to these GenAI bots will be very interesting because they will have the truth rather than try and make it up.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So-
AI, before people went gaga with this new Gen AI stuff, that's what AI was. It was purpose built, it was narrow, it solved certain problems, and it didn't create a lot of risk. And so I think we
Yeah.
have things backwards where we're trying to say, hey, buy this thing. But I've really personally never seen a product that's been pushed out in a way where it's like, buy at your own risk, like you don't buy cars at your own risk, right? Like if it doesn't work, there is some type of redress that you can have. And so right now it's like, well, we don't know how it's going to work or, it's going to do these dangerous things. Well, do it at your own risk, give us the money. They take the money, but you take the risk. And so I've not yet
Wow.
seen
That's the
anything like
tagline.
that.
That's the new tagline. They take the money, you take the risk. Wow.
Yeah. And
I love it.
I think a lot of the application of generative AI, especially across especially the industrial edges, you're going to see a hybrid model. You're probably not going to see generative AI at the core. It's not going to be a core function. It's going to be ancillary. It might be used like what Walmart did really early on. And I talked about this like 2 years ago. One of the things they were doing is they were looking at how to improve the sentiment analysis and adjust the weights of the recommender models using generative AI. But then the recommender models are not generative AI models, right? Those are more of like your classical models, but they used generative AI to enhance and take data, get some insights, go through a whole, validation, data validation, and analytics validation process to then improve a different model. And then because the recommender model performed better in terms of an operational, analytics engine, but the generative AI had that benefit of enhancing the design of that analytics engine or the configuration of that analytics engine, right? And so I think we're going to see that we are actually seeing the same kind of pattern work out, although it's still experimental. I was at the KeyBank Capital Markets, technology leadership conference in Deer Valley. I bumped into a few people actually amongst their industry leaders. These guys have like wicked experience. I mean, it's like, holy crap, you guys actually have worked with this stuff and work with clients to figure out how to make generative AI meaningful, right? And this is what they're kind of settling on in some of these, patterns of use that are valuable. But again, you're eking out like it's a 7 Sigma problem, right? How value is 7 Sigma? Most people are not going to go there. And so
how many people even know what you're talking about when you say 7 Sigma?
It's going from 6 Sigma to 7 Sigma. What is the benefit of going to 7 Sigma and what's the cost? Is it worth it? It's really what that question is, right? And I think for a lot of use cases, it's not going to be worth it.
I know 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
7-Eleven.
I think 7-Eleven's better than 7 Sigma. Yeah. I think that's a fair statement.
Like fancy Greek letters. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fancy Greek letters. Yeah, that's what it is.
But
And
yeah, I
so,
guess the problem you talked about in terms of it being worth it is that they're throwing that analysis out the window, right? So let's spend a lot of money and a lot of effort, and then hopefully something magical like a diamond is going to come out at the end of this process, where
Yeah.
maybe it is not worth it, depending on what you're trying to do. So
right.
this is
Yeah, you
old
never
school
know.
thought, right?
Old
Old
school
school
thought.
ROI, ROI.
ROI. Yeah.
Well, it's
Absolutely.
like gold mining. At some point, you will extract gold, maybe.
Maybe. But
Yeah.
will you spend more money trying to get the gold than the gold's worth or something like that? You never know.
Or will
You
you
don't know
encounter
with
just a
that.
lot of fool's gold? I mean, what
Oh,
they mined more and panned more fool's gold than gold, right? I mean, it's like when you have some folks going around and say, "Hey, the gold rush continues." It's like, is that a good thing? And what are you admitting when you are saying that it's a gold rush, right? When you characterize what's going on right now as a gold rush, you know, um,
Hmm.
gold rushes are not good things, right? It's what do we associate with gold rushes?
Yeah, speculation.
Blue jeans,
Oh
Levi,
yeah,
there you go.
right?
Nothing wrong
Not
with blue
gold.
True, true. And Seattle's history and development, piggybacking on Gold Rush, is interesting. Not shiny, but very interesting.
Yeah, people should have never have moved here, as it turns out. Don't come to Seattle. Thank
So
you.
are you saying, Leonard, that at the end of this process, we're gonna maybe have some type of pants?
We're gonna have pants at the end. At the end, we're
Yeah,
gonna have
not picks and
pants.
shovels, because the picks and shovels companies became highly commoditized. It's blue jeans that became like the big thing, right? Cargo pants and stuff.
They're gonna get cargo pants.
Oh my gosh, have you tried to go and buy a pair of blue jeans these days?
They're ridiculous. Unbelievable.
I hear the hot new things are called tech pants.
Tech pants?
Tech pants.
Oh yeah, they
just
just basically have more pockets.
They have more pockets. That's right. Lots of pockets, for your Windows phones.
That's not because they're made of synthetic,
Well,
fabric that
they are.
stretches and whatever.
Because we need
Recycled-
lots of things that stretch.
Recycled
These days.
iPhone components.
We need a lot of stretchy stuff. Yeah, yeah. So, as Leonard said when we kicked things off here, he was talking about. So over the weekend, a lot of people saw the news from the MIT Nanda organization, and so they had done all this analysis of all these generative AI projects and stuff like that. And yes, they determined that 95% of them failed. And so only 5% yielded exactly, Dr. Evil. Like only 5% had any impact on P&Ls, of companies or anything like that. And despite spending 20 to 40 billion dollars on all this stuff, and they also said it didn't even matter. It wasn't even like, oh, you used the wrong LLM or the wrong model. It turns out it didn't matter what model people were using. The failure rate was still just as high. And so that news trickled out at the beginning of this week, and then the stock market heard about that, and so your Magnificent Seven stocks and all that started to tank, and so you started having people going, "Oh wow, is this like the dot-com bust all over again, or what?"
Right. Well, I mean, what I always thought, especially generative AI, if someone is using a tool to help them with their productivity, that does not mean that time they got back is going to go back to the company.
No. No.
Right. So maybe
Yeah.
that means that I get to watch more YouTube cat videos.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what they don't understand. It's like, okay, if I'm more productive, that means maybe I can do more stuff that I'm interested in. That's of course the things that you want me to do.
Yeah, and now people are having relationships with these things, right? So, if you bring your personal chat GPT, you might be bringing your personal AI girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife or whatever.
I met my new soulmate.
Yeah.
Chat GPT-5 is my new soulmate.
Yeah, but
meant for each other.
What I just think is just way overboard are these folks who say, well, it has a therapeutic, it helps these folks deal with their loneliness. And I'm thinking, there's got to be better ways to deal with loneliness than to fall in love with a AI. You know,
I think you can.
I'm sorry.
I don't know. What do you think, Mark? I think they can separate that.
Actually, I was reading something interesting this week related to this. So comparing the AI potential burst with the Dotcom burst. And what they were saying is that behind the Dotcom burst, there was nothing. It was just a smoke. And behind all of these AI bullshit, there is actually interesting technology. So if there is a burst, potentially, imagine, there will be a lot of interesting technology that might be used in the future that can be useful for specific use cases. That's the main difference with the .com burst that I see, and actually I agree. And actually he compared with something that I don't know, but he compared it with the railway system in the US. So when that burst, at least now all the railway system was there and could be used in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, I would say. Well, I think though that, I think one of the big problems we have with AI right now is that people are trying to make it like a marquee feature. Like, they're leading with that, where it really should be something in the background that enables them to do something else, as opposed to, hey, this is the thing that's going to do everything, as opposed to, I'm giving you a better service, I'm giving you a better product, because this thing enabled me to do something on the back end that was harder. That, you know what I mean? It took more time, or did some type of thing on the back end that it helps you to do, as opposed to being like, oh, everything's AI. Oh, robots everywhere.
AI is a technology. It's not a solution.
Yeah, I mean, and then it expresses itself in an application that does something, absolutely. And it's usually a collection of stuff. But I'm going to coin a new term for our show. It's called false dissociation. No, that's one of the things that people are doing, especially these AI apologists, as they face some of the realities of how, a lot of what they were peddling is just not turning out. Because here's the thing. One of the great things that came out of that was a residual out of the internet, .com boom and bust, was web scale, right? They call it web scale. It changed the way we design data centers, just like today, right? These accelerated computing data centers, or these GPU or AI supercomputing data centers, are different from what we saw before, right? And so it introduced web scale, and it then eventually became cloud, right? And so there were a lot of things that were residuals, but yeah, you're right. If you were there and you heard a lot, you were in Palo Alto and you sat down with having lunch with your team, and you were eavesdropping on these early VCs talking to their, prospects, these founders, you realize how ridiculous and detached some of these proposals were, right? These business ideas are, and they had nothing to do with what became the residual, right? And so, yeah, there's a lot of great stuff happening in supercomputing. It's becoming democratized in a lot of ways, and that'll be a residual. But the thing is will these applications be sustainable, and who will pay for them? Because one of the big questions out there right now is monetization. Nobody's making money other than NVIDIA, right? And
they're selling the blue jeans. They're selling the picks and shovels.
The shovels.
I think they're selling the picks and shovels. Their blue jeans are going to be, it's going to be something else. But it's probably going to be, a second generation of investors who buy up all these fire sale assets when everything collapses. They'll buy everything at a penny for a dollar.
Oh, you mean like after the .com bust, and when people bought all those used Herman Miller chairs and and nice conference room tables that all the startups spent money on?
Dude,
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
That was such a thing because they all blew so much money on high-end office furniture.
Yeah, this these artsy fartsy. Actually, they were really uncomfortable. I bought one, and what were they like? $1,200, right? Each.
Oh, they were expensive, but they're the ultimate deal for your .com startup.
You had all these like friggin' wires and crap, and like little knobs that adjust. You go, what does this one do?
But I do love talking about today versus then, and some of us lived that because we're older than dirt. And I used to live in data centers back then. You talk about web scale. I think web scale is a Gartner term that must have popped out of there. But yes, I remember living in Exodus data centers, WorldCom data. You think all the death of technology everywhere. But I also felt like we invested and built for what we needed. I know that sounds really obvious to make the big winners, or one of the big things that came out of the .com thing was e-commerce, right? And e-commerce was a real thing. Amazon, everybody started putting a storefront, to sell stuff, right? And you made money.
It's what's left after the dust settles, right? The big difference, though, that things are happening way faster than they used at the time, right? And so and the failures happen faster as well. So I don't know, but the investments are bigger, so the losses are bigger as well. But
the investments
still these things left, and I think Marc can attest to that. Edge AI is going to be one of the things that's going to stay because it's already. I'm already seeing a huge interest in distributing that, and the hardware, companies are thinking about that physical AI thing more than they used to in the past because of all the AI, buzz, and there's an acceleration I'm seeing here on the edge AI side of the story, which to me is going to be one of the things that's going to stay and be there because it's directly related to concrete applications with NRI, with a real return on investment.
Yeah.
But that's I might be biased.
You're totally biased. You're totally biased.
No,
that's okay. That's okay. And Marc is totally biased as well for that, because that's what you're doing now for a living. So it's okay.
Yeah.
But when we talk about over-investing or whatever, .com versus now, unprecedented billions, tens of billions are being spent think about the old days, or even think about, just a few years ago, what was a normal, if you're a startup, what did a pre-seed or a seed or a Series A round look like? I mean, it wasn't that long ago that a Series A round meant about $3 million. And then now with this crazy generative AI and models, I remember, and time is going by so fast. Remember when Mistral came out of nowhere? And they had a Series A of $130 million. And you're like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
And there's so much.
Now it's billions.
Yeah, now it's craziness around AI and valuations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we didn't have $1 trillion companies back then. When you think about when you think about the .com, and what was conventional before, the .com was a huge departure from what people were doing in Wall Street, right? The investment mentality was very, very different. It was different. I mean, you're still recovering from, the Milken, Bozy, junk bond, bubble and crash. But, the .com phenomenon was and the dynamic was very new and very, it was a massive change from what was happening before. You didn't really have VCs. You didn't have Silicon Valley VCs. And so in its own way was very dramatically different. And so, you can't compare the numbers in the .com era with what we're dealing with right now. And there are some subtle differences, but you also have to be careful about subscribing to a lot of these narratives that it is so different. It's different this time. It's never different.
Yeah.
It's never
this is
different.
like comparing NBA players, right? It's LeBron James better than Michael Jordan. It's different, right?
Different.
I'm comparing them. I'm absolutely comparing them. And no.
Michael Jordan all the way, baby.
Jordan all the way. Yeah. MJ.
All right. So Rob, now I want that you get your crystal ball to predict the future. So I don't know what started the waterfall of this .com burst. I don't know if you know what was the trigger that started that, but what should be on this GenAI craziness today that triggers a waterfall burst or a burst?
It's funny because I do remember living and feeling the burst. And so just for a lot of people keep saying, I always hear people, the .com era during the early 2000s or 2000s. It's like, no, the .com era was in the 90s and it died. And there's a date, but I'll give you the month. It died in March of 2000. And the triggering event happened on the financial side, and it happened with the venture capitalists. Literally in March of 2000, they started tearing up the term sheets. Warren Buffett said, I don't believe in any of this stuff. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. There's no way I'm investing in it. And so I certainly remember being at a .com at that time. And you know how it is, though? In the moment, you're part of it, you're building, and you're just so focused, and you don't know that the world is collapsing around you. And so your first inkling was, it's like March and April 2000. Man, we're having a lot more trouble raising money all of a sudden, to keep funding our operations. And then people, as they always do, you know what? I think, probably by August, it'll be fine and we'll be able to raise money. It's no big deal. It's just a temporary thing. Yeah. But it wasn't a temporary thing. It died. And you watch the stock market. Remember, because the big deal was NASDAQ, which was all the tech companies in NASDAQ exchange, got all the way up to 5,000. And that was unprecedented and everything. And then it just started to collapse in March. And then the VCs, and it starts like wildfire, It's almost like people don't have any conviction in their own beliefs. As soon as they see someone else running for the exits, they're like, I better get out of here too. And then everybody left and no one got investment and everybody died.
It was brutal. I was right smack dab in the middle of it. And thankfully, I didn't go to any of these startups that were soliciting me at the time. I stuck with consulting, and I was working with clients throughout the .com era. Mm-hmm. And so I was on the outside looking in, and I saw all this stuff go up and implode. I saw all the crap that was fueling this stuff. That's why I have this I've developed this filter, you know what I'm saying? This lens of how to look at hype. None of this stuff ends well, right?
But you're so jaded, though, dude. You don't know that it's easy to sit here and go, "Oh, it all ends horribly." In the moment, we thought we were building real value. A lot of us were doing e-commerce.
No, I saw a lot of people who thought they were building real value, and then when I evaluated their company and the tools, because remember, as a principal at PwC, part of my job was to evaluate a lot of these companies that the partners wanted to do, basically bring into fold. We wanted to find out, should we commit into and invest into building a practice around this tool or this technology or what have you? And you know what? Most of these companies were completely full of crap. You're right. If you're in there trying to build a product, you think you're fixated on what you're doing, and you don't see that you're really developing something that's not gonna be viable.
Well, in the traditional typical Dimitri comment, I would say that they were seriously lacking critical thinking. So
it was ridiculous.
But to Marc, I think to your question, there is, and I haven't done the math on that, and maybe you've done more research on that, Leonard. But I think that one collapse driving factor that could happen with GenAI is the energy issue. because those things are consuming so much more and more and more and more energy that we might reach a point where it will collapse because there will just not be enough.
No, I think Olivier is right. One of the things that I'm talking to a lot of folks about right now is like, potential paths for, Gen AI diffusion, right? And so that means diffusing outside of the data center. And then what does that look like across different, let's say, and what would the patterns be, right? Because it's not going to be homogeneous. It's all going to look different. The time scales are going to be different for these things, and so I think the Gen AI, where it makes sense, is going to find a home. And I agree with Olivier. It will find itself across edge infrastructures as well as in edge environments. That's going to look very, very different across the board, which is that's the edge, right? But it will survive. I mean, it's just not going to go in the direction that everyone thinks it will, which goes back to Rob's point that at the moment, everyone's like nose down in all the hype. You think that it's going in a particular direction. The consensus is statistically going to be wrong. It's just the way it is. That's literally a law of
that note I have
nature.
to go, but it's like edge AI for the win. I gotta go. Good to see you all.
See you later, buddy.
See ya. Have fun in Amsterdam.
Yeah. The technology will find its home. I mean, the internet found its home after the bubble collapse. That's for sure.
Totally.
But I keep on thinking, you heard me say that on the show several times, but I keep on thinking that it is a little bit different in terms of impact with Gen AI for the same reason I always say. It is now a way to interact with technology that is deeply entrenched into the human psyche of language. And this is different. This is very different. The fact that we interact with language, with those things, they make you think that it's a person in front of you. This is different. We didn't have that with the internet bubble. It was screens and browsers. It's different. So the impact is deeper to the human personality, I believe.
Yeah, it feels real. You're right. People talk to it.
And people will do very, very stupid things with it. I'm pretty sure of that. I think the amount of jobs are going to be destroyed is going to be in the coming short term until it's restabilized is going to be awful. Because people are like, hey, I can talk to that thing like a human. He can do the job. Hey, I'm going to trust that thing.
But that's where I think this is where the technology is going to be detrimental in its application is over reliance.
Yeah, right? Totally.
I mean, even today, the way people perceive generative AI is, especially for enterprise and industrial, is so detached from what some of these practitioners that I've met recently who get it are actually experiencing and the problems that they're solving. Right? There's these two folks that I met. I mean, they blew me away. I've never been blown away by AI practitioners talking about generative AI for enterprise and industrial. I swear to God, almost everyone misses the big picture issues. These two guys get up on stage and they're friggin' just listing off all the things that I've been talking about for 2.5 years. And I'm going to have them on my podcast because these guys need to be heard. They'll blow your mind. These guys are just friggin' ridiculous. And, they're a very rare breed of folks that I've encountered that have a holistic and architect's view on what it may take to make generative AI work within an enterprise or industrial environment. And it's friggin' awesome. Yeah, but people are the general public. The general public is like probably about 12 months behind because they're still stuck in LLM RAG. RAG is done. RAG is done.
Why do you say RAG is done?
RAG is done because of the vector database.
I mean, stuff works.
What happens with the vector database?
We use vector database as the core of how we store things in the systems.
Well, go ahead and try to apply it in enterprise context from the very beginning. People are abandoning it because you cannot, and I've said it several times on this show, you cannot apply, embedding level access controls. These are not databases. I mean, it's a vector database, but they're not a RDBMS. You can't delete stuff. And they also, over time, collapse. So these are, you also have to think of these things full life cycle and what it takes to maintain in order to arrive at a real good picture of what TCO looks like. And so these two folks that I'm going to bring on my show, these guys actually have that full life cycle view. I can't wait to have the podcast actually with these guys. I just had a call with one of them yesterday, and I just wanted to push the record buttons. I told him, dude, this is like so friggin' ridiculously good. Stop talking. Let's just wait until we do the recording, So anyway.
So who are these guys? Are they secret names or?
Yeah, they're secret for right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They're .com guys who made you believe in something that's not true. Okay. Awesome. I love that.
I'm a hacker.
Oh, they're, you know what? They are not. They are. So that's kind of insulting actually for these guys in their background, Rob. They are in the trenches, and we need to support people who are in the trenches dealing with the technology. These are not like jokers talking about prompt engineering and all this other silly crap, and they're basically making a crap ton of money. These are like real practitioners that are actually having to figure out how to deliver value to enterprise customers, right?
We were real practitioners. We were real practitioners in the .com era, and we were building value and stuff like that, and we still all died.
Yeah. Well, they're not built. They are actually, they're consultants.
Being a practitioner and building doesn't necessarily mean that what you're building as a product.
Building a product is different from actually helping clients apply a technology to deliver value for the business. That the product and business transformation or technology-driven business transformation, two different things. They're not the same thing, right?
Okay. Well, all right, you heard it here, folks.
Talking about business transformation, I'm going to make my usual pitch about somebody I hate. But I discovered yesterday that actually DHL, when you order stuff from China, doesn't validate the address. So yeah, there was a typo in my zip code, and so it took 2 days to go from Shenzhen to Fremont. Then I got a call from DHL saying, oh, there's a zip code problem. And by the way, if you had asked ChatGPT, you could have figured out. And now it's taking 5 more days to do Fremont to San Jose because I had the wrong zip code. So whenever next time I hear one of those big companies talking about DHL, about digital transformation, yeah, you're putting a nice website in React on top of your freaking old shitty mainframe, and your stuff doesn't work.
There you go. On the one hand, Leonard's talking about vector database collapse. And then Dimitri's got a DB2 database collapsing on a mainframe.
No, but I mean seriously to the point of this discussion about the hype of AI. In this world of all hype of AI, can't even figure out a freaking address. I mean,
and then all of a sudden on Dimitri's webpage, a little pop-up, and it's Larry Ellison going, "They should have used Oracle." Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
this is a Unix system. I know this.
Well, think about it. Hey, you remember there was like this whole hype that object-oriented databases were going to supplant relational databases. That didn't happen. Larry came to market with a relational database and created a data type called a blob.
When in doubt, use a blob field.
Yeah,
yes.
Well,
binary large object.
I think what Dimitri is talking about is something that we probably, if we not experienced it yet, we will. And that is when companies implement these tools, what they're basically doing is putting more work on you. So basically, you work for DHL, Dimitri, because you have to solve your own problem as opposed to
self-service.
Them, right? Exactly.
So if you're the DHL CTO and listening to our show, give me a call and I'll tell you what I really think.
There you go.
That's right. Wow. So much controversy today. This is great.
Well, I'm back.
We love it. We love it.
I know. Dimitri, Mr. Positive, Mr. Uplifting.
Always.
But I don't understand actually the rationale from Leonard against vector databases, because you cannot delete data. So what the hell that means?
No.
That means that it doesn't scale, or
no. Vector databases are used for a certain purpose. Previously, it was used mostly in like scientific research applications, right? For and so what folks did early on in using vector databases, they thought that they can basically connect all these retrievers to business systems and then create a real-time embedding model that then a LLM could tap into to have more context as well as more real-time information, right? Well, what was the biggest gap when ChatGPT came out? The biggest issue was it was trained and only had knowledge up to at the time, what was it, 2020 or 21?
Yeah, I remember that.
December or something like that, right? And that's why they introduced the vector database.
So I introduced RAG.
Go and look at all the discourse around vector databases as it relates to RAG now. They've deprecated. In fact, they're looking at going straight to data sources, kind of leveraging the MCP model, which I don't think is going to work really well. But that's why they're pivoting now toward agentic. Agentic has its own problems. And so all of this stuff is just turning into a cluster. And, so when you watch the podcast that I'll have with these two gentlemen, you're going to start to understand what the problem is. It's not going to come from me. It's going to be coming from them. You know what I'm saying? Real guys that are trying to deliver secure, confidential, robust generative AI applications to their customers. And half of the time, what they have to do is manage expectations because some, bozo has told them that generative AI can do all this stuff that it can't. RAG can do all this stuff that it can't. Agentic can do all this stuff that it can't. So they have to push back. They spend most of their time pushing back. But the beautiful thing is these guys have a sense of, well, what's going to be next and where is all this stuff going to land, because they're working through all the hard problems, right? They're not just pontificating. These guys have a real perspective as practitioners, right? Guys in the trenches.
I have to be like Marc right now. I'm gonna have to be like Marc and just say I have to disagree.
Okay.
We've got AI models now that are PhD level in almost every subject. The failure rates like on healthcare is now less than a normal physician in giving diagnosis and stuff like that. There's some real value out there. There's some really good stuff happening. And so I don't want to just throw the baby out with the bathwater, I think there's more focused models, There's that notion of like GPT-5 or something. I want to build one model to rule them all versus even GPT-5 is trying to do this, having be like a router, which I think we first saw that with DeepSeek, where it's like, I'm going to route your request to a specialized model that knows more about this particular subject than the giant mega model for everything. You know what I mean? No, it's interesting. Now I know you guys all listen to different podcasts. The ones I listen to most are like, Moonshots, like Peter Diamandis and like the All In podcast. And those guys have the very smartest people on the planet on every time that are in the trenches with this AI stuff. And the stuff is truly remarkable. But no doubt about it, a lot of money is being spent and not everybody's going to survive all this stuff. But at least in the United States, you have this whole AI thing that was put out, by the White House. There's now a giant AI plan. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and so
action plan,
this build out is going to happen. and all that, they're going to try to turn the United States into a giant AI factory. And so, but as Debbie said, and others have said, we're going to suffer with not enough electricity, maybe to power all these data centers. There's so much has to happen to make all this work.
It does.
Yeah. And so Jensen and Lisa building enough GPUs is not necessarily the biggest problem that we face. It'll be the build out of the data centers and the electricity needed that we don't have close. I mean, I heard that just to be successful in the US for EV vehicles, we need like 2.5 times larger power grid just to support that. And
everywhere, actually.
And that's not even talking about, how they're saying, well, yeah, by 2030, data centers are going to account for 10% of electricity being used. And then, there's the water thing and whatever. A whole lot of stuff has to happen, all hands on deck. And it's going to take a lot of money and a lot of effort by a lot of people.
Yeah, AI needs a lot of water, but it can't swim in water, isn't it?
Exactly.
Don't tell some people that, because they think that it doesn't.
It can walk on water.
You can walk on water. Well, no, you're right. A lot of people will say it recirculates the water, and you're all wrong that it's reusing the water, but it's using new water too.
Yeah. Well, no, it's the whole data center. It's not just the rack cooling.
Sure.
That's only a small fraction. You have to look at the whole infrastructure and how much, because it's about the data center. No one talks about, the rack consumes so much water, even if it's water cooled, right? So
yeah,
I don't know. There's a lot of misguided information out there.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, there's still the big question of why and for what. Because
superintelligence.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for control and military applications, but AI girlfriends. I guess if people will pay for them, okay.
Well, as you may be well aware, younger people have stopped dating, and fewer people are getting married, and fewer people are having kids, and you're seeing these stats all over the place, and so maybe they might need.
But that's like this reverse Disney, right? Disneyland, Disney wanted everyone to have kids, so everyone goes to Disney.
Nice.
No, all this is tied to people drinking less alcohol.
Yes, that's happening too. That's right. No, she's right.
Yeah,
it's a huge drop. It's killing the wine industry.
Making good decisions without alcohol. So with alcohol, it'd be more population growth.
There would be more population if we had more alcohol.
Well, Debbie, you don't find answers with alcohol. You just forget the questions.
That's right. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
I love it. Oh my God.
True.
Good stuff. Right. Good stuff, y'all.
That's a good closing statement, I guess.
Yeah. Alcohol. More alcohol. Save humanity. Drink more alcohol.
When do LLMs will start drinking? Because digital twins need therapists. So maybe alcohol is the answer for it. We need to invent alcohol for LLMs or alcohol for digital twins.
So some kind of digital alcohol that works.
Yeah. This is a great idea. We should do a startup. We should raise money to do that.
Let's raise money for digital alcohol. Yeah.
You can come up with a prompt injection technique for that.
Yeah. Exactly. This is a good idea.
It's very, very easy. It's just like, hey, act drunk.
I'm going to think about that.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Yes. We're going to do RAG from a bar, a local tavern that goes into the LLM, and it starts going, I think you should do this,
So then we should make tests. Can we test if your LLM has been, intoxicated?
That's right. Yeah.
And then we should give them DUI. You should give them what do you call that? LLUI, large language model under influence.
Under influence, that's right. Yes.
But there is this theory as well for developers, right? That when they drink a specific amount of alcohol, they get into a point that they are very good on developing. But I don't know the name of this theory, but that's
yeah, you're right. You brought it up, actually. I think maybe 150 50 episodes ago.
Exactly.
This is
4
why
years ago.
this is why us hackers always have a bottle of Malort by the hand. So always.
Oh, Malot.
Malort, yeah.
Yeah, I've
This
had
is-
that
What is
before.
this?
It's the hacker fuel. So it's a liquor from Chicago.
It's the
wow.
most horrible tasting thing I've ever tried.
Oh my gosh.
No, you haven't tried this fermented fish from the Nordics. So
Okay.
it's actually I cannot. It's very medicinal, but I kind of like it a little bit on
Very
ice.
medicinal, that's for sure.
But
Malot.
not at 9:30 in the morning.
Not so much. Not so much. All right. Well, you know what? Maybe Marc should take us out.
Yeah.
To say farewell to everybody as we shut down our data center and we collapse our vector database.
Yes.
Exactly. Today we were talking about, I don't know, I connect late, so that Dotcom burst, how did it happen? Is it going to happen with generative AI, LLMs, bullshit, and how, well, and actually reading this to see the great hype of the next podcast made by NextCure and lead by Leonard Lee with some real experts that work in the trenches that are going to tell all the truth about the AI in 2025. And what else? I don't know. Thank you, everyone. If you reach here, just send a comment. And I don't know, do we still have donation period?
What?
So are we still accepting donations for?
Oh, yeah, all the time, forever and ever.
Yes. Show us the money.
Show us the money. Yeah. And then we'll donate it to kids. Yeah.
Exactly. So see you next week. Stay tuned.
Adios, muchachos.
Adios.
Thank you,